In a world where tradition clashes with desire, one woman's choices unravel a web of love and betrayal. Dive into Loretta's journey where every decision holds profound consequences. The story begins with 37-year-old Loretta Castorini, a Sicilian-American widow, who is an accountant in Brooklyn Heights, New York, where she lives with her family. Her father, Cosmo, who is a successful plumber, her mother, Rose, and her paternal grandfather, her boyfriend, Johnny Camry, proposes to her before leaving for Sicily to attend to his dying mother. She accepts but insists that they carefully follow tradition, as she believes her first marriage was cursed by her failure to do so, resulting in her husband's death when he was hit by a bus. While they ride to the airport, they plan to marry 1 month later, and Johnny asks Loretta to invite his estranged younger brother, Ronnie, to the wedding. That night, Loretta returns home and informs her parents of the engagement. Cosmo dislikes Johnny and is reluctant to commit to paying for the real wedding Loretta insists on. While Rose is pleased that Loretta likes Johnny but does not love him, she believes that one can easily be driven crazy by a partner whom one loves. The next day, Loretta gets a call from Johnny telling her his mother is slipping away slowly. Unfortunately, Loretta wants her to die quickly so that she and Johnny can carry on with the wedding. Before saying goodbye, Johnny reminds her to call his brother and invite him to the wedding. Loretta quickly looks for the number in her purse and then dials Ronnie. A girl picks up at a bakery and speaks to Loretta, but when she directs her to Ronnie himself, who is working in the oven room, he is very displeased to hear his brother is trying to reach out to him. He hangs up on Loretta, and she feels obligated to locate him in person. She arrives at the bakery, and the girl takes her to Ronnie. Loretta humbly expresses that Johnny wanted to invite him to his wedding. However, Ronnie loses it and reveals that his brother cannot have his life together after destroying Ronnie's. He tells her that 5 years ago, he was with his bride and ready to get married, but Johnny changed it all in an instant. He reveals that he has a wooden prosthetic hand, and he explains that he blames Johnny for the loss of his hand and his own fiancée. Ronnie became distracted while talking to Johnny as he cut bread for him. His hand was mangled in the slicer, and his fiancée left him as a result. He is now lifeless, and all he does is bake bread. Loretta feels bad for him, so she insists they discuss the matter upstairs. Meanwhile, we see Loretta's father with another woman named Mona, giving her jewelry as gifts and his greater attention. In his apartment, Loretta cooks for Ronnie and then tells him that she believes he is a wolf who cut off his own hand to escape the trap of a bad relationship. They were having some alcohol, so it must have slipped her mouth. However, Ronnie reacts furiously and passionately, kissing Loretta, who responds to his kiss with much affection. He then sweeps her up in his arms and carries her to his bed, where they make love and connect to one another. That evening, Rose's brother Raymond and his wife Rita join Rose and Cosmo for dinner, and they all wonder where Loretta is. Raymond recalls that when he was a boy and Cosmo was courting Rose, he thought that a particularly bright moon one night was somehow brought to the house by Cosmo because of his love for Rose. That night, Loretta remains at Ronnie's apartment and sees such a moon. Raymond sees it as well, and it leads him and Rita to make love. The next morning, Loretta wakes up sober and tells Ronnie they can never see each other again as she will be marrying Johnny soon. She slaps him when he claims to be in love with her, telling him to snap out of it. Ronnie, obsessed, agrees to never see her again if she will only attend the opera with him that night. She agrees to see him at night and leaves for home. She then goes to church and confesses her infidelity. The priest gives her a prayer and she feels relieved, but she unexpectedly sees her mother there. And when she talks to her, Rose tells her that Cosmo is having an affair. Loretta is doubtful, but Cosmo is indeed cheating on her with Mona. Loretta leaves the church and then goes out to the store. After closing out the cash register in Raymond and Rita's store, Loretta impulsively has some long neglected beauty treatments around town. First, she goes to the hair salon to get her hair done and her gray hair removed. Then she goes and buys a glamorous evening gown for the opera that night. She goes home after, but nobody is there. She takes her time to try on the shoes she got herself. And after much appreciation of her beauty, Loretta goes to the opera to meet her date, Ronnie. Loretta and Ronnie, wearing a tuxedo, meet at Lincoln Center, and each is impressed with the other's appearance. Ronnie tries to kiss her, but she tells him they are just here for the opera. They head inside, both excited to spend time together. However, once inside, we spot the sneaky Cosmo along with his date, Mona. They are also here for the opera, and Loretta hasn't spotted them yet. The show begins, and Loretta is deeply moved by her first opera, Puccini's La Bohème. She even tears up with some kind of nostalgic feeling, and Ronnie holds and kisses her hand. The same night, Rose dines alone at a restaurant. She is sure of Cosmo's cheating, and now is out at the same restaurant he used to take her to. This time, however, she sees a college professor, Perry, being dramatically dumped by a female student. A similar scene having played out with a different girl the night Johnny proposed to Loretta. They start a conversation, and Rose invites Perry to dine with her, asking him why men pursue women, and then shares with him her belief that men pursue women because they fear death. Outside, Perry offers to walk her home, and she delightedly agrees. But as they walk a few streets, Cosmo's father sees her and gives her a side eye. She scoffs it off easily and doesn't bother to follow him for an explanation. Back at the opera, the show eventually ends, and on their way out of the theater, Loretta spots her father patting Mona on the shoulder. She confronts him, asking what he is doing here, specifically with Mona, and he attempts to dismiss her. He asks her what she is doing here, and he sees that she is with Ronnie, and he suggests that they simply agree that they didn't see each other at all, but Loretta is conflicted. He leaves her there, and Ronnie offers to buy her a drink. Meanwhile, Rose arrives home with the gentleman, and she bids him farewell. He tries to convince her to invite him in, but she refuses, citing the fact that she knows herself. Despite his interest in her and his insistence on spending time with her, Rose remains faithful to her husband and tells the man she is too old for him. Loretta and Ronnie then finish their drink and are now going home. But Loretta feels guilty once again and tells him they can't do this. But Ronnie is firm that she belongs with him and that she must go to his apartment instead of going home alone. He insists very much that the two belong to each other and that they should head on with the inevitable mistake that people in love make. She then is convinced and offers him her hand to go to his apartment. He leads her to his apartment upstairs, and once again, he passionately and desperately persuades her into another tryst. That same midnight, Johnny unexpectedly returns from Sicily after his mother's miraculous recovery and goes to Loretta's house. He says his mother was miraculously healed and that now he is here to see Loretta. Rose explains that she's not there and then asks him why men chase women. He tells her it may be because they fear death, and Rose realizes, as she had suspected before, that he is right. While they converse, Cosmo arrives, and his wife asks him where he was. He doesn't want to answer her, but it's obvious he feels uncomfortable with his lies. Johnny, after saying goodbye to Cosmo, leaves, planning to return in the morning to see Loretta. In the morning, Loretta returns home in a reverie, but is then distressed to learn from Rose that Johnny will be there soon, as he had returned from Sicily the previous night. Just then, the doorbell rings, and thinking it would be Johnny, Loretta hides to cover the love bites on her neck from the night before. But fortunately, it was Ronnie at the door, and her mother told her to come out. Ronnie then comes in, and Rose notes their matching love bites and invites him for breakfast over Loretta's objections. Loretta, on the other hand, insists he leave because Johnny will be there any minute. Despite her plea, he takes a seat for breakfast, and shortly, Cosmo and his father come downstairs to join them. The old man cajoles Cosmo into agreeing to pay for Loretta's wedding as long as she needs him to. Rose then confronts Cosmo and, after he acknowledges in response to her questioning that she has been a good wife, demands that he end his affair. He is upset but agrees, and after insistence from Rose, also agrees to go to confession. They then affirm their love for each other soon after. Raymond and Rita also arrive, concerned and seemingly reluctantly suspicious, to find out why Loretta didn't make the previous day's bank deposit. They are relieved to learn that she merely forgot and still has the money. Then, a while later, the doorbell rings once again, and this time it's Johnny. Loretta gets ready to call off the wedding and prepares herself for the confrontation. However, before she says anything, he tells her he is breaking off the engagement, superstitiously believing that their marriage would cause his mother's death. Loretta, momentarily offended by his breaking the engagement, chastises Johnny for breaking his promise and throws the engagement ring at him. Seizing the moment, Ronnie borrows the ring and asks Loretta to marry him. Everyone is happy as far as anybody is concerned, and Johnny doesn't care. Loretta happily accepts his proposal. To Rose's chagrin, Loretta declares that she loves Ronnie. The movie comes to a close, and the family toasts the couple with champagne, and a befuddled Johnny joins in at the grandfather's urging, as he will now be part of the family after all.